The stars outside were different now. Colder, more distant. Each pinprick of light seemed to mock the remnants of human civilization clustered in the vast darkness of space. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood motionless, her reflection ghosting over the reinforced observation window of the carrier Prometheus. Scars traced her face like navigation charts, each one a memory of humanity's final stand. Her right hand, a marvel of biomechanical engineering, flexed almost imperceptibly. The prosthetic hand had cost her more than just flesh and bone. It was a reminder of everything they had lost. 53 warships drifted in tight formation, a metal constellation against the infinite black. Each vessel was more than just a ship. They were arcs, tombs, wombs of potential, carrying the last 250,000 humans in existence, a number so small it could fit into a mid-sized stadium back when stadiums still existed. The ship's internal systems hummed with a subdued energy. Repair drones moved like silent insects across damaged hull sections, weaving new material into old wounds. Someone had once joked that the Prometheus was more patched than original metal now. Nobody laughed anymore. Lieutenant Kai Chen approached, his footsteps carefully measured. He was young, too young to have seen Earth before its final moments. His generation knew only survival, only escape. The datapad in his hand seemed to vibrate with potential. "Admiral Rodriguez," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "We've completed the quantum slip-jump diagnostics." Elena turned, her cybernetic eye momentarily flickering. A kaleidoscope of data streams and tactical analyses racing beneath her iris. The bridge crew watched her carefully. Every movement, every decision could mean the difference between continued existence and total extinction. "Report," she commanded. Kai stepped forward, bringing up a holographic display. Star charts, gravitational maps, and spectral analyses flickered around them. "Our long-range quantum sensors have detected something unusual in Sector 9 Gamma. It's not just another empty region of space." The hologram zoomed, revealing a star system that seemed to pulse with potential. Multiple planetary bodies, complex gravitational interactions, resource-rich spectral signatures that suggested life-supporting conditions. "The Velinar Confederation controls this sector," Elena murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. Her tactical mind was already calculating possibilities, potential conflicts, strategic advantages. Dr. Aryapatal entered the bridge, her environmental suit indicating she had just come from the research decks. Brilliant and slightly disheveled, she carried the weight of humanity's scientific hopes. "The quantum signatures are fascinating," she said. "Whatever is out there, it's not just another dead system." The bridge fell silent. Every person understood the stakes. Finding a new home wasn't just a mission, it was their species' last chance. Elena's prosthetic hand clenched, the biomechanical joints whirring softly. "Prepare reconnaissance drones," she ordered. "I want a complete sweep of that system. Silent approach. No transmissions. We cannot risk detection." Kay's fingers danced across the holographic interface, launching a swarm of microscopic scout drones, each no larger than a thumbnail, equipped with technologies that blended human innovation with salvaged alien systems. Outside the window, the stars continued their ancient, indifferent dance. Humanity's last fleet hung in the balance, a fragile assemblage of metal, hope, and pure determination. They would survive. They would find a way. They had no other choice. The Velinar communication hub pulsed with electromagnetic rhythms, a massive structure orbiting the central planet of their confederation. Millions of data streams crisscrossed through quantum relays, creating a web of information that seemed impenetrable. Agent Maya Reyes adjusted her biomimetic skin overlay, her body slowly transforming to match the cellular structure of a mid-level Velinar communications technician. Years of genetic modification and technological augmentation had prepared her for this moment. She was more than a spy. She was a living weapon of information warfare. Her handler's voice whispered through a quantum-encrypted neural link. "Target acquired. Proceed with Phase 1. The infiltration had begun months ago, long before the physical insertion. Microscopic drone swarms, each no larger than a dust mite, had been systematically introduced into the Velinar communication infrastructure. These weren't simple surveillance devices. They were adaptive neural networks, capable of learning, mimicking, and subtly manipulating data streams. Maya walked through the hub's central corridor, her every movement calculated. The Velinar were a species of rigid hierarchies and precise communication protocols. One misplaced gesture could expose her entire mission. Her augmented brain processed thousands of potential interaction scenarios per second, selecting the most statistically probable responses. A senior communication officer approached. Technician Vorlik, he called out in the complex tonal language of the Velinar. Maya turned, her synthesized vocal cords producing a perfect response. A slight bow, a specific hand gesture indicating mid-level deference. Acknowledge, she responded, her mind racing through potential conversational trees. The real work happened in microseconds. While maintaining her physical disguise, Maya's neural implants began their true mission. Quantum encrypted data packets began to subtly redistribute through the communication network. Not an attack, not even a noticeable intrusion. More like a gentle reshaping of informational currents. Back on the Prometheus, Dr. Arya Patil monitored the mission from a specially designed quantum interface chamber. Holographic displays danced around her, showing the complex web of infiltration. "We're not just gathering intelligence," she muttered to herself. "We're rewriting their entire systemic understanding." The human strategy was elegant in its complexity. Instead of a direct military confrontation, they were introducing microscopic changes. A communication delay here, a misrouted priority message there. Subtle nudges that would gradually destabilize the Velinar's rigid social and military structures. In another section of the massive communication hub, another of Maya's team members was at work. Agent David Kim, surgically modified to appear as a maintenance drone, was physically connecting to the central network infrastructure. His modifications allowed direct quantum-level interface with the alien technology. Insertion complete, he subvocalized through the encrypted link. The plan was multilayered. Gather intelligence, create subtle systemic disruptions, identify and exploit cultural and technological vulnerabilities. Humanity was playing a game of multidimensional chess, with the survival of their entire species as the stakes. Maya felt a momentary surge of adrenaline. Years of training, genetic modifications, technological augmentations, all focused on this singular moment of potential transformation. A warning flashed across her neural interface. Potential detection risk, 0.03%. Acceptable parameters. She continued her work, each movement a carefully choreographed dance of information and misdirection. The Velinar would never see them coming. By the time they realized something was wrong, it would be too late. The last remnants of humanity had become something else entirely. Not just survivors, not just refugees, architects of a new galactic order. The laboratory deep within the Prometheus hummed with an otherworldly energy. Holographic interfaces danced around Dr. Marcus Chen, casting ethereal blue light across his tired face. Scattered across workstations were the dismembered remains of alien technology, each piece a puzzle waiting to be solved, each component a potential key to human survival. Quantum resonance chambers lined the walls, containing fragments of X-Archon weapon systems that had nearly wiped out humanity. Most scientists would have approached these technologies with fear. Marcus saw opportunity. "Bring me the quantum entanglement module," he called to his assistant, Dr. Yumi Nakamura. She moved with practiced efficiency, her augmented hands carefully manipulating a containment field that held what looked like a piece of living metal. The fragment pulsed, not with electricity, but with something more fundamental. Quantum information rippled across its surface, creating patterns that would drive traditional physicists mad with their complexity. Marcus's neural interface flickered, translating the component's quantum signature into comprehensible data streams. "We're not just reverse engineering," he muttered. We're rewriting the fundamental language of technology. Weeks earlier, they had lost 3 researchers to a particularly unstable alien power core. Now, they were learning to dance with the very technologies that had nearly destroyed them. Each failure was a lesson. Each experiment brought them closer to transformation. The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. The hybrid AI system that could learn and adapt faster than any previous computational matrix. It wasn't just a computer. It was a living network of information, capable of predicting tactical scenarios with impossible precision. Yumi brought up a holographic display showing the AI's latest simulation. Thousands of potential conflict scenarios played out simultaneously, each one a kaleidoscope of strategic possibilities. The system is now predicting enemy movements with 97.6% accuracy, she reported. Marcus studied the display, his augmented eyes zooming into microscopic details. The AI wasn't just analyzing. It was learning, evolving. Each simulation made it more sophisticated, more unpredictable. In another section of the laboratory, a weapons system materialized. It looked like nothing from human history. Adaptive matter that could reconfigure itself mid-combat. Weapon platforms that could transform, merge, split apart with liquid-like precision. Quantum adaptive matter, Marcus explained to a group of young researchers. Traditional weapons are static. This is alive. It thinks. It adapts. The implications were staggering. A single ship could now become multiple tactical units, weapon systems that could predict and counter enemy strategies before they were even implemented. Technology that blurred the line between machine and intelligence. But it wasn't just about creating weapons. It was about survival. About finding a way to ensure humanity's continuation when everything seemed lost. An alarm chimed softly. The quantum entanglement module was reaching critical resonance. Marcus carefully adjusted the containment field, his movements precise and calculated. "We're rebuilding," he said quietly, not to anyone in particular. More like a prayer, a promise. Outside the laboratory, the Prometheus continued its journey through the vast darkness. 53 ships, the last remnant of human civilization, carrying not just survivors, but the seeds of a technological revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The alien fragment pulsed again, waiting, learning, transforming. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were becoming something entirely new. The Velinar battle fleet emerged from quantum slip space like a metallic storm. 10,000 ships stretched across the star system, their weapon arrays glowing with murderous potential. Each vessel represented centuries of technological advancement, a testament to the Velinar Confederation's unbroken military might. Admiral Elena Rodriguez watched the incoming fleet with calculated calm. Her command bridge remained eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the massive conflict about to unfold. "Tactical assessment," she commanded. Lieutenant Kai Chen's fingers danced across holographic interfaces. Quantum adaptive displays showed multiple potential engagement scenarios, each one updating in milliseconds. Enemy fleet composition varied. Heavy cruisers in the forward ranks. Support vessels forming defensive matrices. They're using classic hierarchical engagement protocols. A slight smile crossed Elena's face. Classic. Predictable. The Prometheus's AI interface spoke, its voice a perfect blend of human intuition and machine precision. Probability of standard defensive response, 93.4%. Recommend asymmetrical engagement strategy. Elena nodded. Initiate Phase 1. Across the human fleet, something extraordinary began to happen. Ships weren't just preparing for battle. They were transforming. Adaptive hull configurations shifted like living metal. Weapon systems reconfigured themselves, creating configurations no traditional military doctrine could anticipate. The first wave of Velinar ships launched their primary offensive. Massive energy weapons capable of splitting planets erupted in synchronized attack. Any traditional fleet would have been obliterated in seconds. The human ships seemed to dance. Not retreat, not defend. Dance. Quantum adaptive systems allowed each vessel to predict and counter incoming weapon trajectories with impossible precision. Ships that should have been massive and unwieldy moved with a grace that defied physical laws. They twisted, merged, separated, a living, breathing tactical organism. "Energy weapon incoming," announced a tactical officer. Before the words fully left her mouth, the targeted ship had already shifted. The massive energy blast passed through empty space where the vessel had been milliseconds before. Dr. Arya Patil monitored the battle from a secondary command center. Her hands moved across quantum interface modules, fine-tuning the fleet's adaptive responses. "They're fighting like we used to fight," she muttered. Rigid, predictable. The human counterattack was nothing short of symphonic. Drone swarms emerged from seemingly impossible locations. Each drone was more than a weapon. It was a quantum-linked intelligence, capable of making split-second tactical decisions. Some Velinar ships began to break formation. Confusion spread through their communication networks. Their rigid tactical protocols were being systematically dismantled. Elena's voice remained steady. "Concentrate fire on their command vessels. Disrupt their communication matrices." Precise energy weapons struck with surgical accuracy, not to destroy, but to disable, to confuse, to demonstrate that humanity was no longer simply fighting for survival. They were fighting to reshape the very concept of warfare. 17 minutes after the first engagement, the battle was over. 10,000 Velinar ships, disabled, defeated, not destroyed, but utterly defeated. The human fleet remained virtually untouched. On the bridge of the Prometheus, a moment of profound silence descended. They had just changed everything. The galaxy would never be the same. The true battleground was not in space. It was in the intricate web of communication, culture, and belief. Dr. Elena Morales studied the holographic display, her fingers tracing delicate lines of information flow across the Velinar Confederation's communication networks. Each line represented a potential point of intervention, a subtle pressure point in the alien society's complex social structure. "Psychological warfare is an art," she explained to a group of young intelligence specialists. "We're not destroying. We're redirecting." The human strategy went far beyond traditional espionage. Their goal was to introduce microscopic changes that would cascade into fundamental societal transformations. A delayed communication here, a strategically leaked diplomatic message there. Each intervention carefully calculated to create maximum systemic stress. On the central communication deck of the Prometheus, a team of specialists worked with near-surgical precision. Agent David Kim monitored a series of quantum-encrypted channels, his augmented brain processing millions of potential communication scenarios per second. "Target identified," he subvocalized through his neural link. A mid-level Velinar administrative district was about to become the epicenter of a carefully engineered social disruption. The first phase was information manipulation. Subtle discrepancies began to appear in official communication channels. Reports that didn't quite align. Bureaucratic messages with hidden contradictions. Nothing obvious enough to be immediately detected, but sufficient to create underlying tension. In the Velinar capital city of Kornax, government officials began to look at each other with increasing suspicion. Trust, the fundamental currency of their hierarchical society, started to erode. Elena Morales watched the developing scenario with clinical precision. "We're introducing doubt," she explained to Admiral Rodriguez. "Doubt is more powerful than any weapon. It spreads. It multiplies. It consumes from within." Strategic misinformation campaigns targeted specific cultural fault lines within the Velinar society. They understood the alien civilization's deep-rooted belief systems, their communication protocols, their social hierarchies. Each piece of introduced information was a precisely crafted surgical tool. Some Velinar planetary governments began to fracture. Minor administrative districts questioned central authority. Communication networks became labyrinths of mixed messages and conflicting directives. The beauty of the strategy was its subtlety. No direct attacks, no obvious external threat, just a persistent, growing sense of internal uncertainty. Agent Maya Reyes continued her deep cover mission within the Velinar communication infrastructure. Her genetic modifications and neural augmentations allowed her to move through their systems like a ghost, introducing microscopic changes that would have massive repercussions. Information is alive, she often told her teammates. It breathes, it grows, it transforms. On the Prometheus, Dr. Arya Patel developed increasingly sophisticated algorithmic models that could predict the cascading effects of their information interventions. Each simulation revealed new potential pathways of societal manipulation. Weeks turned into months. The Velinar Confederation began to experience what would later be described as a systemic nervous breakdown. Not a collapse. Something far more interesting. A fundamental reimagining of their societal structures. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the observation deck, watching the developing scenario. "We're not conquering," she said quietly. "We're offering an alternative." The stars outside seemed to shimmer with potential. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were architects of a new galactic order. The trading post on Nexus Prime hung like a massive metallic spider in the void of space. Hundreds of species from across the galaxy converged here, a neutral ground where commerce transcended political boundaries. Ambassador Zora Collins moved through the crowded corridors with calculated grace. Her human adaptive camouflage allowed her to blend seamlessly, shifting subtle molecular patterns to match the surrounding environment. But it wasn't just technological adaptation that made her exceptional. It was her ability to read the intricate social dynamics of interstellar politics. A Jerry trade captain approach, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the artificial light. Captain Kurol had been waiting for this meeting for cycles. Generations of her species had suffered under the Velinar Confederation's oppressive trade restrictions. "You offer more than resources," Kurol said, her translator producing a precise human standard dialect. "You offer possibility." Zara smiled. The human strategy was never about direct conquest. It was about creating opportunities that no other civilization had considered. The negotiation room was a marvel of quantum adaptive technology. Holographic displays shifted and morphed, creating privacy fields that prevented any external surveillance. Each wall was a living communication matrix, capable of blocking even the most advanced eavesdropping technologies. "The Velinar have controlled your trade routes for 3 generations, Zara began. Her fingers moved across a holographic interface, revealing complex economic data. "We can provide you with alternative transportation networks. Complete freedom of movement." Kurol's secondary sensory tendrils quivered, a sign of deep interest among her species. The economic data told a story of systematic oppression. Trade routes controlled, economic potential strangled. The Jerry had been reduced to little more than economic slaves. Nearby, another human diplomat was meeting with representatives from the Krellnax mining consortiums. These silicon-based life forms had been systematically pushed to the margins of galactic economics. Now they saw a potential path to liberation. The human approach was revolutionary. Not military occupation, not economic domination, but a genuine partnership based on mutual growth and opportunity. Dr. Arya Patel monitored the negotiations from the Prometheus. Her quantum analysis systems tracked every microscopic interaction, every subtle shift in diplomatic potential. "We're not just making allies," she told Admiral Rodriguez. "We're creating an entirely new model of interstellar cooperation." Each alliance was carefully constructed. The humans offered technological support, adaptive infrastructure, and most importantly, a genuine path to self-determination. They weren't conquering. They were enabling. The Krellnax mining representative, a massive crystalline entity named Zordax, reviewed the proposed technological exchanges. Adaptive mining technologies that could revolutionize their entire economic structure. Communication networks that would break their current isolation. "Your offer is unprecedented," Zordax reported. "Most galactic powers seek to control. You seek to enable." Back on the Prometheus, the strategic planning team worked tirelessly. Each potential alliance was a carefully calculated chess move. They weren't just building a fleet, They were constructing a new galactic infrastructure. Ambassador Collins returned from her negotiations, her report sending ripples through the human command structure. 3 major species had agreed to initial cooperation protocols: the Jerry, the Krellnax, and most surprisingly, the fragmented remnants of the Corlin trade guilds. Admiral Rodriguez studied the holographic displays. Potential alliances bloomed like quantum probability flowers. Each connection represented not just a military or economic opportunity, but a fundamental reimagining of interstellar relationships. "We're not rebuilding an empire," she said quietly. "We're creating a network." The stars outside seemed to pulse with new potential. Humanity had found something more powerful than weapons. They had found hope. The quantum early warning systems of the Prometheus lit up like a constellation of dying stars. Intelligence reports had predicted this moment, but prediction was nothing compared to reality. The Exarchon Collective had found them. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood perfectly still, her augmented eye processing tactical data faster than any biological system could comprehend. Surrounding her, the bridge crew moved with practiced precision. This was the moment they had prepared for, the moment that would define humanity's future. "Full tactical assessment," she commanded. Lieutenant Kai Chen's hands danced across holographic interfaces. Quantum adaptive displays showed the incoming Exarchon fleet, a massive armada that had pursued humanity across 3 star systems. Enemy fleet composition: approximately 15,000 ships. Multiple weapon signatures. Advanced quantum disruption capabilities. The Exarchon were not just an enemy. They were the architects of humanity's near extinction. The species that had reduced Earth to cosmic dust, leaving only these survivors as a final testament to human resilience. Dr. Aria Patil entered the bridge, her quantum interface modules humming with potential. "Our allied networks are in position," she reported. The Jari, the Krellnax, the fractured remnants of species long oppressed by the Exarchon, all were ready. This was more than a battle. It was a statement. The first wave of Exarchon ships emerged from quantum slip space, their weapon arrays glowing with murderous potential. Massive energy constructs that could strip planets of their atmosphere in seconds. Technologies so advanced they bordered on the mystical. "Initiate multi-layered defense protocol," Elena ordered. What happened next was beyond traditional warfare. The human fleet didn't just defend. They transformed. Ships merged and separated with liquid-like precision. Quantum adaptive weapon systems created configurations that defied traditional military doctrine. Each vessel became a living, thinking entity. The Jerry support fleet arrived from unexpected vectors, their crystalline ships creating quantum interference patterns that disrupted Exarchon targeting systems. The Krellnax provided advanced geological manipulation technologies, creating temporary spatial anomalies that confused enemy tracking. Intelligence had been the true weapon. For months, human operatives had been systematically undermining Exarchon communication networks. Every tactical advantage had been carefully prepared. "Target their primary quantum communication hub," Elena commanded. Microscopic drone swarms, each no larger than a dust particle, began their intricate dance. They weren't just attacking. They were dismantling the Exarchon's most fundamental technological infrastructure. Dr. Marcus Chen monitored the battle from the technological research deck. "It's not about destruction," he muttered. "It's about systemic collapse." The battle lasted what seemed like both an eternity and a microsecond. Traditional time became meaningless in the quantum adaptive engagement zone. Exarchon ships began to fail, not from direct weapon strikes, but from internal systemic failures. Communication networks collapsed. Weapon systems turned against themselves. The most technologically advanced civilization in the galaxy was being defeated by its own complexity. Final phase initiated, Lieutenant Chen announced. The human fleet wasn't just fighting. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of galactic conflict. As the last Exarchon ships failed, something extraordinary happened. Instead of total destruction, the human fleet began stabilizing the damaged enemy vessels. preserving technology, collecting data, showing a level of strategic mercy that was completely incomprehensible to the Kharkan. Admiral Rodriguez watched the final moments of the conflict. "We're not just survivors," she said quietly. "We're architects of a new future." The stars outside seemed to hold their breath. Humanity had done more than survive. They had transformed. The first terraformed world emerged like a promise against the backdrop of infinite space. Gleaming cities rose from landscapes that had been barren mere months ago, a testament to humanity's transformative capabilities. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, watching the planet take shape. It wasn't just a new world, it was a new beginning. Dr. Arya Patil approached, her quantum tablet displaying intricate ecological development models. Adaptive terraforming is proceeding at 287% of projected efficiency, she reported. The combined technological insights from our allied species are revolutionizing planetary engineering. The human-led Galactic Coalition was unlike any civilization that had come before. Not an empire of conquest, but a network of opportunity. Each allied species contributed unique technological and cultural insights. The Jeri provided advanced quantum communication technologies. The Krelnax offered unprecedented mineral processing capabilities. Humanity brought something even more valuable, a vision of collaborative potential. Chief Diplomat Zara Collins was coordinating the next phase of galactic reconstruction. Holographic displays showed emerging trade routes, educational exchanges, and technological sharing platforms. "We're not just rebuilding," she explained to a group of young diplomats. "We're creating the new model of interstellar cooperation." In orbit, massive construction platforms worked continuously. Ships that were once weapons of survival were now becoming platforms of exploration and development. Quantum adaptive technologies allowed for unprecedented levels of infrastructure creation. Dr. Marcus Chen oversaw the Technological Integration Center. Salvage technologies from the Sarkhan, combined with human innovation and insights from allied species, were creating entirely new fields of scientific understanding. "Every piece of technology tells a story," he would often say. "We're not just reverse engineering. We're having a conversation with the universe." The first interstellar university took shape, a massive orbital platform that would become a beacon of collaborative learning. Species that had been enemies for generations now shared research facilities. Jeri quantum physicists worked alongside human engineers. Krelnax geological experts collaborated with adaptive terraforming specialists. Admiral Rodriguez met with the coalition leadership. Representatives from 15 different species gathered in a quantum adaptive conference chamber that could simultaneously translate and interpret multiple communication modalities. "We are not conquerors," she reminded them. "We are builders." The economic models were revolutionary. Instead of traditional resource extraction, the new system focused on sustainable development and mutual growth. Each species contributed unique capabilities, creating a galactic ecosystem more complex and vibrant than any previous civilization had imagined. Orbital agricultural platforms began producing food that could sustain multiple species. Adaptive medical technologies emerged that could treat diverse physiological systems. Communication networks allowed for unprecedented levels of cultural exchange. Young humans trained alongside alien species, learning technologies and cultural practices that would have been unimaginable decades earlier. The first generation of this new civilization was being born, a generation that knew no boundaries of species or origin. Dr. Patel's ecological teams were already planning the next phase of galactic development. Quantum adaptive terraforming technologies could transform entire planetary systems. Uninhabitable worlds became potential homes. The very definition of livable space was being rewritten. On the surface of the first terraformed world, a monument was being constructed. Not a statue of a leader or a symbol of military might, but a massive quantum crystal structure that represented the combined knowledge of all participating species. "We survived," Admiral Rodriguez said quietly to herself. "But more importantly, we learned." The stars outside seemed to pulse with new potential. Humanity have found something more powerful than survival. They have found purpose.